everyone, it's Allison. Welcome to my channel if you are new. If you are not new, welcome back, and I appreciate all of you being here. Today we're going to be foiling without heat, and we're going to be taking a look at the new release from Simon Says Stamp. So this is the card we're going to be making, but stick with me to the end because I will show you some other cards that I have made with this amazing release. So we're going to be stenciling today with foil, and this is the new stencil, Oh Holy Night. It is a set of 2 stencils. So one is the words and the other stencil has the stars. And this is a really fun stencil, and I thought it would be even more fun to foil it. So I have one of my grip mats from Waffle Flower, and that is going to hold my paper down as well as my stencil. So that way I don't have to use tape. Now, the way we're going to be foiling today without heat is by using this product called Transfer Gel Duo. And this allows you to foil with heat, with a laminator, or without heat, using a die cutting machine. So I'm getting my tools out. I have my Stencil Pal and one of my Nuvo spatulas. And I'm going to zoom in here so you can see the consistency of this stuff. It's kind of like eye cream, or I don't really know how to describe it. Maybe some thin frosting. But I'm just going to put some on my spatula and I'm going to spread it through the stencil. Now this stuff is really easy to spread. The consistency of it is, it's very forgiving. It kind of stays in the stencil. You know how sometimes you worry about going underneath the stencil? This stuff is just really easy to spread. So I'm going to try to show you what it looks like. It's shiny and white, but obviously I have it on white paper. So I'm going to show you what it looks like for real. So on this piece of scrap paper, it's white when you put it on. And I'm going to show you how you know it's ready to foil. I am going to spread it on and then I'm going to wait an hour. And here's what it will look like after an hour. It has dried clear. And not only is it clear, but I can touch it. I can run my finger over it. It's not wet or sticky anymore. Well, it's kind of sticky, but it is ready to foil. So here is my white panel. Again, it's hard to see the stars on there, but you can see me running my fingers over it and we are ready to foil. So again, we're not using heat today, so I'm going to be using my die cutting machine. And I have a piece of copy paper here that I'm just folding in half. This is going to be kind of our carrier sheet. And I'm putting my piece of paper in there. And now I'm getting some foil. This is the Sparkling Silver Fancy Foils. This is from Gina K and ThermoWeb. And I have some scraps in here from a previous project. So because the stars are on either side of this panel, I don't have to cut, a big piece of foil. I'm just going to cut a strip for one side and then I'll cut a strip for the other side. And this foil is really fun. You can see it's kind of holographic looking, and I'll show you a little bit closer right here. It kind of has little tiny stars in the pattern. So I'm just going to run it through my die cutting machine just like you would a die. And I happen to run it twice. I don't know if you need to, but that's what I do. So let's see what we have. We're going to pull the foil off. And there we go. Look at that. It's just so easy, and those stars turned out great. So now for the words. I have all my tools back out, and I just have a scrap piece of paper. Now I have sprayed the back of my stencil with Pixie Spray. You're going to see whether or not that was a good idea later on. But I just didn't want some of the stuff to get underneath the stencil and ruin the design because there are just so many letters. And, so I chose to use Pixie Spray. Pixie Spray just holds it down to the paper tight. So now I'm using my Stencil Pal to spread the gel. And I am in such a habit of not putting a lot of gel or glitter paste down, because when I'm usually doing this, I usually have ink on my panel and I'm always worried about it coloring the paste. So I didn't need to worry about it here. I could have just globbed on a bunch of this, but you'll see I'm just spreading it and I'm trying to get it a very even layer through the stencil. And you'll see I can just put all the excess back. So that's why I could have just globbed on a bunch and put all the rest back. So now this is about an hour later and it's ready to foil. Now I live in Colorado, so it's very dry here. So don't go by the hour mark, just go by what I showed you earlier where it dries clear and it's, you can run your finger over it. So I've put a piece of gold foil on there and I'm going to run it through my die cutting machine just like I did before. Now, remember that I had Pixie Spray on the back of this stencil. And you're going to see what happened because of that. So I'm going to peel off the foil. And the letters look fabulous. Everything looks good. But I'm going to zoom in here. You'll see that there are little patches of foil. And that is because foil will stick to anything sticky. And because I used Pixie Spray on the back of my stencil, it left a little bit of stickiness, right? So the foil stuck to that. So first I grabbed my mono sand eraser. I didn't really like how that was working. So I'm going to grab my adhesive eraser. And this is going to work much better. But as I started erasing, and it was erasing that foil, as I started erasing it, I thought, this looks kind of cool. I'm going to leave some of it. Now, what I did do was I kind of tried to erase the rectangular line around it, because some of this you could tell was in a rectangular shape because the stencil's rectangular, right? So I left some of that on there because I thought it was just a cool look, because, this is a night sky, and speaking of night skies, I'm going to ink blend. So I have my Distress Oxides pulled out. The first color is Mermaid Lagoon, and I'm using my stencil mat from Waffle Flower, and I have this Altenew ink blending tool. This is just a huge tool that just lets you put on a really smooth layer of ink. You don't see me using it a lot because I haven't been using my oxides very much. I don't know why. I think it's because my little Distress ink cubes sit right next to me where I craft. So I'm using the same blending tool for all of my blue colors, but you'll see after I use that Mermaid Lagoon, I did clean my mat. Now this is Chipped Sapphire. I'm not bothering to clean my mat because Chipped Sapphire and Prize Ribbon are close enough, so I'm not really worried about, tainting the brush or anything. So this brush and the Distress Oxides just make it really easy to blend these colors. And I'm just going to come back in with a few of those colors, like a little bit of more of the Mermaid Lagoon. Now you'll notice the shine in the foil has left the building. But foil is ink resistant. So I just grabbed my little towel that I use in my craft room. I put the piece of paper on my grip mat from Waffle Flower. That way I don't have to hold it because my Distress Oxides are still kind of wet. And if I hold it with my fingers, I'll leave fingerprints on my oxides. So here you can see the difference between what I just wiped and what's above it. You can see that wiping the ink off those letters is bringing back the shine. So I'm going to carefully, wipe the ink off those letters. I'm going to try not to wipe too much on the panel because I don't want to lift too much of my oxides. And I'm just going to move the towel around a bit just to get clean parts of it to wipe this. So there we go. That is the card. And you can see some of that those little foil marks left by the Pixie Spray, and I love how it turned out. All right, let's take a look at a few other products from this release, starting with the Very Merry cover. This is a really fun die, and I made 2 shaker cards with it. And by the way, I will have a video on these 2 cards coming up. So this card on the right, I also used another new product. This is the Not Quite a Dot cling stamp. I absolutely love this cling stamp. This is going to be a staple for me, I think. All right, so the next new product that I have to show you is an embossing folder. This is the Soft Snowfall folder. And here is the card that I made. And again, I am going to try to have a video for this card as well. And there's the little wonky trees that came out in last month's release. They're so cute. All right, and the last product that I've been playing with, I haven't finished a card yet, but this is a new snowflake die called Snowflake Burst. And there you can see it. Now this die cuts out really well. Sometimes, you know, snowflakes are kind of delicate and it's hard to cut them out, but this cut beautifully. All right, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.